Alright guys, this is a long plane review for Final Fight on the AMSTRAD CPC, and this is for 128k only machine, so you know the 6128 or 6128 plus, or if you're lucky to have a 64k RAM expansion for your normal 464, and it's quite a hefty game. First off, we always take a look at the arcade original for comparison. There's the arcade cabinet there for you in all its glory. Looking a bit shabby though in that picture. And of course this is a very, very famous arcade game from Capcom, released in 1989. And basically the plot of this game is, well, you can read it here basically. Yeah, the Mad Gear gang have captured the mayor of Metro City's daughter, Jessica. There he is, Mr. Hager, the mayor, who's like an ex-wrestler and street fighter. And off he goes with the boyfriend of Jessica, Cody, I believe it is, and Cody's best mate, Guy. So you can choose one of 3 characters. Nice little introduction here, and this is also present on the AMSTRAD CPC version. Now apparently this was meant to be a sequel, or planned to be a sequel, for the original Street Fighter game. And so yeah, this very nearly got called Street Fighter 2, or I think according to Wikipedia, Street Fighter 89. But of course this isn't a one-on-one beat 'em up, this is a scrolling beat 'em up. So thank God it got renamed to Final Fight, which is a pretty cool name. And then obviously we later got Street Fighter 2 properly. And as you can see guys, I've chosen Hager, or Hagar, as my character. He's my favourite in the game, and has some really, really impressive moves. But more importantly, I've chosen to use him on the AMSTRAD CPC version, which I'll come to explain later. Well, basically, he's the best character to use in the AMSTRAD version, and it's a pretty mindless sort of beat 'em up, really. I mean, there's only one attack button, and there's a jump button, and there you can use special moves there by pressing both buttons at the same time, where he sort of spins around. We'll see that in action again. I'll point that out to you. Yeah, I think I use it here. There's the special move in action there. And if you notice guys, it took a little bit of the health off whenever you use that move. And pay attention to the weapons there as well, because they are present in the AMSTRAD version, but they're pretty crap. But we'll come on to that now, because we're going to start with the looking at the AMSTRAD version. Pretty poor loading screen there. But the title screen is really, really good, because we get the introduction just like in the arcade original. And there's some really funky music actually, it's pretty good. Pretty good for the AMSTRAD. So yeah, we get the backstory again here. Yeah, some very nice pictures there actually. And I'm really impressed they bothered to sort of put in a introduction sequence like this. Not many arcade conversions did they bother with, especially US Gold, who is responsible for converting and producing this game. About 2 years later, in 1991. And normally US Gold, of course, are notorious for producing really, really crap arcade conversions. But they've done alright here. Nice little animation there of him switching the screen on, and there's the boss appearing there. I think that's Damned, the first boss at the end of the first level. And there's basically about 6 stages in the game. And the final boss is a guy called Belger, who actually controls the Mad Gear gang. And here we go, we are now presented with the character select screen. So we'll let that run in full, then we will choose our character, which is going to be Hagar, or Hagar. Former champion Street Fighter. No, it says Street Fighter there. Going back to the originally planned, this being called Street Fighter 89, or a sequel to that. Guy, he's I think he's the fastest character in the game, but also the weakest. Cody's kind of like the middle ground between Hagar and Guy. Hagar, of course, is supposed to be a lot slower, but he's definitely the character to choose, which we have done here for use in the AMSTRAD version. And here we go, on to the first level. And here we are, right. Of course, right, first thing you notice, guys, is absolutely massive sprites. Well, certainly for the AMSTRAD anyway. To be honest, I don't remember seeing sort of sprites as big as this in an AMSTRAD game. So that's, first of all, that's really commendable. And really, really colourful as well. There you go, I'm using my special attack move there, which is like fire and down and right, or fire and down and left. But note, guys, it doesn't actually take any energy off me. So you can use this special move as much as you want in this version. And you really, really do need to use it a lot. There's actually pretty decent range of moves available. So I'm already getting my ass kicked here. I haven't played this game in a very, very long time, actually. So I kind of improve as I go along in this long play. So we've got jump kicks there, got punches. You can do like a flip backwards. And he's also got a grappling move as well, where you can pick up bad guys, move them about the screen, and then sort of do like a net breaker backdrop move, or whatever you call it. And as you get near an enemy sprite, their name appears and their energy level, which is pretty good going. Oh, there you go, guys. There's me grabbing a guy and smacking him to the floor. And you can grab them and move them about the screen like that. And you need to master this sort of grab move, because it's the quickest way to get rid of opponents. The other two characters, Guy and Cody, can't really do that. They just have like a really crappy sort of like flying knee move, which doesn't take much damage off. It's quicker to do, but it's pretty useless. And there's some tight time limits on some of the levels, so we need to sort of get rid of the bad guys really quickly. So this is why we're using Hagar. As you can see, guys, we just picked up a weapon there. It's a pipe. But unfortunately the weapons, well, these pipes and swords you find later on are really, really crap. You think you've got a massive range on the pipes and swords, but actually they don't make any contact whatsoever, so avoid using them. You need to be up really, really close for the pipe or sword to make contact with the enemy sprite, which is really disappointing. And the first sort of gameplay flaw I really mentioned here. Plenty to talk about though, and we've got plenty of time. So yeah, the knives are okay though, because you can throw the knives. They don't cause a huge amount of damage, but they appear occasionally in the game. But yeah, I was going to say, guys, lovely big colourful sprites. I love it. Now to some people this will look really blocky and really messy. I totally understand your viewpoint on that. Oh damn it, I just lost my first life. Now I'm just going to quickly mention that I'm going to do this on 1 credit. I thought about trying to do this on 1 life, but I got into this and I carried on recording, and I've done it on 1 credit. It is possible, and it's definitely feasible to be able to do this on 1 life, but you have to be really quick and have to use Hagar each time. But yeah, guys, graphics, we'll talk about that first. Very colourful, very nice sprites, big sprites, and you know, some decent frames of animation. It's you're not going to get more than that on an Amstrad, definitely. If you've come in to view this video, you've never seen well, an Amstrad machine in action, and you're only familiar with the arcade original or you know, the Super Nintendo conversion or whatever, you're going to be looking at this thinking like, you know, what the fuck, this looks really terrible. But for an 8-bit home computer, guys, this is really special. This is really good. Even so, for the Amstrad, this is still a little bit messy. I think maybe the sprites could have been tightened up just a little bit more, but they're nicely defined and faithful to the arcade original as well. And I think this is really the big main feature of the Amstrad version, is that we've got these big sprites, which is why I'm talking about it quite a lot at the start of this video. But the first thing I'm going to mention, guys, the next thing really, is the scrolling, whilst it is smooth, is really slow. And there's an awful lot of walking involved in this game, with like basically nothing happening for ages. So here we're just plodding on, and no one's appearing to fight against. Although we've already reached the end of the level here, and the first boss is coming up shortly, damned. But yeah, there's some later levels, guys, where there's just ridiculous amounts of walking with absolutely nothing happening whatsoever. So you may notice from the video title that this is an edited long play, and what I've done, guys, is basically edited out just basically the boring walking bits where there's absolutely nothing happening. But I've also uploaded the full long play without commentary or the introduction with the arcade version running. So just the full Amstrad long play with no talking, no messing about, and with all the boring walking bits in it. It's an unlisted video, but there's a link in the description if you want to go and watch this in full, because I like to do a complete long play. So you got the best of both worlds there, guys. But literally, guys, with all the editing, I've probably hacked off at least 10 to 15 minutes worth of just like boring walking. I mean, the long play's already sort of at, you know, just under an hour long, so it's a pretty long game, because it's you know, not exceptionally speedy. So yeah, about 15 minutes worth of just walking and doing nothing. I mean, would have been a good game if it was like Codemasters produced Advanced Walking Simulator or something like that. So a big negative for that already, guys. And I'm kind of confused about the sort of slow scrolling as well, which doesn't help matters at all. But that's the first level clear. That's the Slums stage. We're now moving on to the subway stage. And up against one of the first sort of big regular characters in the game. That's not a boss. Andor. and you want to master this sort of grappling move. So try and grab them and get smack off loads of energy. If you've got more than one character sort of in proximity to the other, then use your special spinning move. And don't forget, you can also do that cool little sort of flip backwards as well. And it's quite hard to pull off the grabbing move sometimes. There's a bit of a system to it. You'll be fairly close to him and you're going to be doing fire and down or pushing the down key. It's a little hit and miss sometimes. Now the most important thing about this game is, you know, how's the fighting action. I mean, it is called Final Fight, and it's pretty good, but like I said, sometimes it's a bit hit and miss with pulling off moves. I'm convinced there is kind of a sort of, I don't know, key lag sometimes. You know, a lag between you actually pulling off your move and then the computer actually doing it. Sometimes it's really responsive, sometimes it's not. So I'm not quite sure what's going on there, but it's certainly very playable. I mean, the arcade original was just basically, you know, a pretty mindless game, just you know, a basic set of moves, and after about 4 credits and 20 minutes of gameplay, you've basically massacred hundreds and hundreds of bad guys, eaten enough pizzas and burgers and drank enough cokes to fulfill you for a month or whatever. It's pretty mindless stuff, and so is the AMSTRAD version. There's not much to it, and I guess you'll either hate this or love this. Well, I don't know whether you really love it. I mean, I do really like this version. Of course, it's not a patch on the arcade original, and it's certainly not going to be a patch on any of the 16-bit versions. But of the 8-bit versions I've seen, like the Commodore 64, which looks and plays absolutely dreadful. The Spectrum version, which is very, very similar to this, but in monochrome. I think this is probably the best of the 8-bit home computer versions, quite easily. Just a shame there's no music in game. But there's some nice effects here and there. For example, we're in the train now, and as you can see, the train's moving. We've got sort of platform and subway lights moving beyond the windows there. And some nicely designed backgrounds. Again, I think they look really nice. Other people might say it's really blocky and messy, but hey, it's nice and colourful, and I like it like that. Nice and chunky. Not sure why Andor's got sort of stuck there at the top left corner. Occasionally happens. Other than that, there's not really any other bugs. We'll see one strange thing happen a couple of times in the game, which is with the grabbing move. Sometimes he grabs. He's supposed to grab the enemy sprite, but they're still stood there. He does his move, and then suddenly they fall to the ground. We'll see it in action later. Flying kick is pretty useless though. And really hard to make contact. And occasionally, sometimes I've seen some graphical distortion in the game. Very rarely happens. It usually happens towards the top of the screen in the background, and sometimes on the sprite. But on this dump, I've played it a few times practicing, and hasn't happened. Talking of no music, the sound effects are really sparse as well and pretty basic, but at least it's not completely silent. But it still plays a decent game of Final Fight. It's a pretty decent beat 'em up, probably one of the best on the AMSTRAD. I don't think it's going to beat Target Renegade. But this is a really good scrolling beat 'em up. Talking of other scrolling beat 'em ups, the other one to look at on the Amstrad, apart from Target Renegade, is the 128K versions of Double Dragon 1 and 2, which coincidentally is by the same author as this game, Richard Aplin, which will be a programmer's name known to many Amstrad fans and users. He was an excellent programmer on the Amstrad. You may remember Shinobi, which was an absolutely fantastic conversion on the Amstrad. Really fast, really fast, smooth scrolling in like 4 directions, complete with, you know, decent sized sprites, fast action, and also music and sound effects in game. Same with Double Dragon 1 and 2, they were absolutely fantastic from Richard Aplin. But he seems to have gone a little bit downhill since then. I mean, after Double Dragon 1 and 2, he made ESWAT for US Gold in about 1990, and that was pretty dreadful, but I still have a strange liking for that game. And then ended up lastly making Final Fight here. He's not credited himself on the title screen or anything, but this is definitely I'm pretty sure this is Richard Aplin. It has all his hallmarks. Hell, even the cheat mode for this game is exactly the same as Double Dragon 1 and 2, which is you type in, I think you pause the game and type in "run like hell." Oh, we've got a sword there, but it's completely useless. It's got no range on it, like the pipe, as you can see. So ignore picking up these swords and pipes. So yeah, after a really fantastic start with Shinobi and the 2 Double Dragon games, I think he's gone a bit downhill here with Final Fight. Both the Double Dragons and Shinobi moved really fast and smoothly, and had some pretty big sprites on the go. Not as big as these, but a lot of sprites on the screen. So I'm not sure why this ended up sort of playing so slowly and scrolling so slowly. I think he must have sort of really quickly got this ported for US Gold. I mean, it's probably slowed down by the size of the sprites and, you know, the frames of animation and the range of moves and stuff. But I'm not sure why you couldn't fitted in like music with the game, and I'm still unsure why the scrolling is so slow, because it's a real pain in the arse. But it's still pretty decent though. Oh, an interesting boss battle here in the wrestling ring in the after getting through the subway. This guy's called Sodom. If I remember correctly, I think in the arcade original, he has a sword and he actually uses it. I think he just basically punches you in this in the Amstrad version. So if you can get on top of him and grab him and use your what is it, backbreaker move or whatever, that's the quickest way to defeat him. He should be a goner now. And I think after this we move on to a bonus stage. Yeah, smash the car. Although I get off to a bad start by accidentally doing flying kicks when I didn't mean to. But just use Hagel's special move, and the car's pretty quickly dispatched, and we get a perfect. Hey! Just I think you just get score bonus. I don't think at any point do you get like a bonus life. But it's pretty generous with 3 credits, and I think is it 2 or 3 lives you start with. So what's that, about 9 lives in total. So it shouldn't take you long to finish this game really, guys, once you kind of master the attack moves, especially the grappling move. And if you remain playing as Hagar. Now if you do lose all your lives and use a credit, It does give you the option to change your character to, like, you know, Guy or Cody, which is a nice touch. But there's no simultaneous two-player action, unfortunately, which is a bit of a shame. But I think that would be asking far too much. Oh, we can pick up a beer there. I think there was probably more variation in the bad guys you fight against in the arcade original. You start seeing the same ones again and again now. But there's a good range of them to fight against, though. You know, fighting against a guy called Slash here. And you'll notice, guys, there's quite a few characters in Final Fight named after sort of various rock stars. There's a guy called Axl, you know, i.e. after Axl Rose of Guns N' Roses. We just fought against a guy called Slash, again from Guns N' Roses. I think there's a few others as well. There's Roxy and there's Poison, possibly named after the rock group Poison. But yeah, it's actually, talking of Double Dragon 2, the Capcom programmers were inspired by seeing Double Dragon 2 in action, and went on to make this game. According to Wikipedia as well, they were also influenced by the Walter Hill movie Streets of Fire, which is a pretty cool mid-80s movie. It's on YouTube actually in various parts if you want to watch the movie for free. Watch it now before it gets pulled down. In fact, I think one of the characters in the movie was called like Cody or something. Of course, we've got the character Cody here. Oh, a bit of a strange noise there as both two bins bounce off each other. Just seeing if there are any more fighters there to fight against before we can go back and pick up the pizza. Yeah, guys, let's see there. Here we go. Lots of boring walking with nothing happening. Only a short bit to the end of this level, though. But I think from following levels, I think we're going to start making some edit cuts. Because the amount of walking gets ridiculous, as I've already mentioned. It looks like we're in a sort of a cage match now, or something like that. I can't really tell from the background. I'm not sure I got this far in the arcade original. But we're now just fighting against two indoors. Oh god, they're actually kicking my ass now. I'll be really careful. Oops, didn't want to kick there. I think we're going to do it. Cool. Right. This is the this is the Westside area, which is stage 3, and I think this is the last part of this stage, and I think we have a boss battle at the end of this against I think it's a corrupt policeman called Eddie E. And if I remember correctly, I think in the arcade version he has a gun which he shoots you with. He doesn't use the gun though in the AMSTRAD version, sadly. I think there's only 2 characters you fight against at the start of this level, and I think we're about to make an edit cut. Oh, picked up a knife, might be useful. Yeah, there's my first edit cut. You'll see it fade in and out. There's absolutely nothing for about 5 minutes until this boss appears, which is Eddie E. And it's really hard to actually throw your knives and get make contact. It's got to be exactly along the same. Oh, there's that bug I was telling you about, where he sort of grabs the thin air. Yeah, that occasionally happens. Very strange. Yeah, so I use a bit of a combination of my special attack move and trying to grab them. If I think I'm just out of range, I might use my special move and then try and get right on top of them for when they stand up. Then use the then grab them. So you can work out a pretty simple system. But you can pretty much get through this game just solely by using your special spinning left and right move. Although it doesn't always take off much energy, so at some point you probably, if you stick to using that, you're going to run out of time. Which is why it's pretty crap to use Guy or Cody, because their attacks just don't take off enough energy. Oh! Getting my ass kicked there by a girl called Roxy. And again, I've got a vague recollection of watching an arcade long play of this, and like the girls you fight against, Roxy and Poison, turn out to be guys or something. Oh, I can't remember if that's true or not. If I'm just going mental or something, but I sure have a vague recollection. It might have been a different game. I don't know. They take the wigs off at the end and turn out to be guys. I don't know. Perhaps someone can confirm or deny that for me in the comments. Okay, I think after this guy, I think we're going to make another edit cut. I think there's lots of boring walking afterwards. Oh yeah, I think on this industrial area level, and there's supposed to be sort of like flames that come out the ground and that you need to jump over. They don't appear in the AMSTRAD version, sadly. So there are a few things missing. Also, the transition between levels, like your character will like smash through doors or like walk down the steps into the subway, for example. That I can live without. Although actually, you will see some other little things appear, like the lift level is actually in the game with like the scrolling like building as you move up and down. Oh gosh, guys, we're about to run out of time. I forgot about that. Look at the time running down. 2, 1, 0. So yeah, we've lost another life. We're still on the same credit though. And yeah, some stupid time limits, as I mentioned, where basically I would quickly dispatch those first 2 guys at the start of the level, and then there was just lots and lots of boring walking, and with the slow scrolling, your time basically runs out before you can even get to these guys to fight them. So maybe doing this on one life is perhaps not possible due to like this level, which is a bit stupid really. And perhaps they didn't properly play test these levels. which really annoys me when they don't bother. It's probably a really quick dirty port by Richard Aplin to US Gold. Probably gave him a really strict time limit to do it, so maybe I can't blame the programmer too much. You never know what goes on with the company they're working for at the time. But again, talking of Richard Aplin, like on Double Dragon and ESWAT conversions he did, he was a big fan of like basically doing the graphics on the and for the Atari ST, and then basically porting them across to the AMSTRAD, then converting, which sometimes led to sort of like messy sprites and backgrounds. But it meant quite a quick development time, especially if he was working on several versions of the game for different platforms. And in many ways, kind of like the AMSTRAD shares quite a few similarities with the Atari ST. Both don't have like proper hardware scrolling support. Both use the same sound chip, I believe. But by the late 80s, the tools were available to sort of like easily transfer graphics and data between different computers. Yeah, another edit cut there. Lots of boring walking. That was a really pointless level, but there was only 2 guys you fought against there. Oh, and here's the lift level. Wow, that's really nice. With he's programmed in the scrolling building and stuff in the background there as the lift moves up. Oh yeah, and look there, the enemy sprites sort of like jump down from above as well. Ah, so that's a nice little touch. That's pretty similar to the collapsing building in the level on ESWAT that the programmer also did the conversion for. And I think we're coming up to a boss battle here as well, actually. So this is the last level of the industrial area. I think it's Relento you fight against. He likes dropping grenades. God damn it, I always get my ass kicked by those girls. See? Perhaps like these smaller characters, like the girls and like Guy, perhaps they do actually move faster and get their attacks in quicker than Hagar, that's supposed to be really slow. Perhaps it does make a difference. Anyway, here he is. Relento, yes, boss battle. Likes dropping grenades about. He's not actually too hard to defeat, actually. And usually his grenade attacks don't actually connect with you or cause any damage. I'm not sure if that's a bug or if I've been lucky, but he does have that sort of spike thing. I don't know what that is. Is that supposed to be a gun? He's using to like use as like a weapon against us. Oh well. Anyway, well that's stage 4 done. We've got 2 stages left. First, we've got a bonus level. We've got to smash the glass. Now this doesn't work very well because the screen doesn't scroll in quick enough. So just keep moving and keep using this special attack move, and you should be able to do this. Yes, just. Again, I'm not really sure why the scroll is so slow. Well, at least it does scroll. It's not flip screen. That would have been really bad. Okay, so this is stage 5, the Bay area. And unfortunately there's lots of dual walking in this level. So thank God for edit cuts. Obviously we're saving smacking the dustbins to see if there's any energy pickup underneath them. Get through these guys as best as possible. Save our energy. Well, save the energy pickup. Oh, there's a burger to pick up there. And also a sword, but I think we're going to leave that. Yep, another edit cut there. Oh yeah, you saw him jumping there. There's there's sort of a strange move you can do. If you sort of like waggle the joystick left and right, he does this strange sort of like flapping jump in the air. Not sure if that's intentional or not, or some kind of different attack. But it's pretty much useless. Oh yeah, I mentioned earlier about other versions, and I mentioned about the Spectrum version and sort of me feeling that the AMSTRAD was a clear winner. I'm not being fair to the Spectrum version. It's just pretty much identical to the AMSTRAD version. It's just got monochrome graphics. But I have to say, the monochrome graphics in the Spectrum version look really, really nice actually. I really do like the graphics on that. And there's nothing wrong with monochrome graphics, especially on 8-bit systems. Hell, if it was good enough for the Game Boy, and it's good enough for the Spectrum, if done well. And the sprites look really gorgeous on the Specky version, and it plays pretty much identically. I have to say that the Commodore 64 version was dreadful. Tiny small sprites, and plays nothing like Final Fight to me. But talking about other 8-bit versions, I don't think Final Fight was ever released for the NES or the Master System. Certainly the Super NES version was really famous because it was pretty much, I think it was almost like a launch title for the Super NES at the time. I think in Japan anyway, in 1990. But it was pretty disliked actually, I think, because it was missing the simultaneous 2-player option. I think an entire stage was missed out, and an entire character was missed out as well. I think Cody was missed out, but a guy was left in, which I found really strange, considering it's Cody's girlfriend that's been kidnapped. Oh, there's that strange bug on the go there again, guys. Very rarely happens, but there you go. But I think they, because so many people were unhappy about that Final Fight port on Super NES, I think they did a sort of released a fixed version or something. I think it was called Final Fight Guy a couple of years later, which had Guy as a selectable character. But I think one of the stages was still missing, as was the 2-player mode. So, but Final Fight was released for the Mega Drive, but on the Mega CD. but I think is very faithful to the arcade original. And apart from that, I think there was a version released for the Game Boy Advanced, I think. And that's pretty much it, really. I don't think any sequels were released. I think there was Final Fight 2 and Final Fight 3 just for the SNES, which I think was probably better received. But there wasn't any sequels done in the arcades anyway, I'm pretty sure of. But I think you can get like an updated version of Final Fight for the Xbox. I think on Live Arcade, isn't it, or something? I'm not quite sure. Oh gosh, yeah, there was like an updated version of Final Fight released for the original Xbox and PS2 called, I think, Final Fight Streetwise, and I remember it getting absolutely awful reviews at the time. I think that was in about 2006, 2007. Never played it. I'm sure there's a video of it on YouTube somewhere. I just haven't watched it actually. Ooh, some cool motorbikes there, and another edit cut there. So we're quite far into the game now, guys. We're not that far from the end. Just a shame that the same characters are still appearing, with Bill Bull again and Roxy. So I think by this point, both for you watching this and probably playing it, it's starting to get quite tedious. Not helped by the slow scrolling and the endless walking you have to do. And I suppose it's probably appropriate that I perhaps sum up a bit of a review now, seeing as we're close to the end. Well, I think overall, guys, I'm going to give this an 8 out of 10. I do quite like this. I think you're either going to really hate this version, or you're going to quite like it. I'm in the latter camp. I'm just kind of like, first of all, I'm quite proud that the AMSTRAD got a version of Final Fight, such a, you know, popular and famous arcade game, and they've done it decent justice, especially with the graphics and like large sprites and stuff. All the stages are intact. You can play as any of the 3 characters. The bosses are there, and some of the nice little you know, features like the train moving and the lift moving up and stuff like that. Obviously, you can't compare it to the arcade original. It's not, you know, that had a huge amount of hardware to be playing around with, and poor old Amstrad's just got a Z80 processor, like only a few megahertz, 128k of memory. Very limited graphic capability. Certainly no hardware sprites and no hardware scrolling. But I think he's done an admirable job, and is a, you know, a nice reminder of the arcade original, just to tide you over before you could get to the arcades and play it for real, I suppose. He's not going to really impress anyone, but I kind of, as a kind of an analogy, I kind of liken games, conversions like Final Fight as, it's like you've been on holiday. You know, you really liked your holiday, and you've got a postcard and photos of your holiday. This is like a postcard of like the arcade version. You know, it's nothing like it. It's nothing like playing the real thing. really been there. But it's a nice reminder and something just to tide you over. Oh, I'm not quite sure what happened there, that sort of sprite flying on the screen. But yeah, 8 out of 10, guys. I think, and at the time in the press, well, there was only really one magazine worth reading for the Amstrad, which was Amstrad Action. I think originally they gave us like quite a high mark. It was certainly in the 90% range. Oh, let me just Google it quickly. I think it was like 92% or something like that. Here we are, final fight. What did it get? It got 93% overall, actually, on its release first time when they reviewed it. It was then later reviewed again when it was like put on a few compilations, and the reviewer then absolutely hated the game and gave it something like 40% or something. Found it very dull and plodding and tedious, and I suppose it's fair enough. So I'm giving it kind of somewhere in the middle, really, of 8 out of 10. Oh yeah, actually noticed there was no end of level boss. Yeah, the boss at the end of the Bay Area stage, stage 5, is supposed to be Abigail, but we just fought against Andor again and Ares again, which actually was, I think it was like the same sprite in the arcade original, just that I think he wore pink or something like that and was a little bit more tougher. So yeah, okay, so we're missing Abigail the boss. I think that's the only boss that is missing in the Amstrad version, although we did fight against Andor, which is basically the same, I think pretty much the same guy, just in different clothing and slightly different attacks and strengths. I can't remember actually. But this is the final stage, guys. Stage 6, Uptown. Another edit cut there. As you can see how the times are changed. Lots of boring walking. We just need to go into this lift here. We're ended up in some kind of like high-rise tower block where the leader of the Mad Gear gang, Belger, is holed up in. Oh yeah, that Hollywood's bad guy we're fighting against. I'm pretty sure in the arcade original, he dashes about the screen quite quickly and also throws knives. But he doesn't in the Amstrad version, sadly. I'll be careful here, running quite low on energy. So I'm going to just fudge my way through using special attacks, I think. I'm hoping I won't run out of time on this level. Oh, but managed to grab him. Nice. It does put me in danger though. Just for a second or two after that move, you're a little bit vulnerable. So if a bad guy's nearby you, you might get a little attack on you. And if they do get an attack on you, they often manage to get maybe another two or three more hits, which will then knock you to the floor, and you've lost quite a chunk of energy. So even though this is pretty easy to do, you can very quickly lose a life. You know, if they manage to get a few attacks in on you and knock you to the floor, you've lost, you know, probably a good third of your energy. A nice city skyline there. Some nice green grass and trees. Okay, I admit it, I'm running out of things to say now. I've done pretty well commentating for nearly an hour. But we're not far off the end, promise. In some ways though, guys, I sometimes find it hard to struggle to understand why you know, Final Fight was like so popular. It was a pretty mindless and bog standard sort of scrolling beat 'em up. I mean, games like Double Dragon and its sequels that got there first, along with quite a lot of other games, and there's a lot of copycats as well. And Final Fight was pretty limited, you know, what you could do. Even so though, it's still strangely good fun, I guess. And sometimes just mindless beat 'em ups can work really well. And Final Fight does. And sometimes if you get like the characters you're playing right and fighting against, the story and the locations and backdrops and stuff, if you get it just right, then you get the atmosphere right, and everything just falls into place. And I think Final Fight kind of achieved that, really. And there was also an awful lot of copycat games that followed it that just didn't, you know, feel as good as Final Fight. I'm not really sure if it will ever go down as a truly, you know, first-rate and classic arcade game. It'll always be remembered and talked about, I guess, but you know what? It's good for a few, you know, short, quick blast of mindless beat 'em up action. And like this conversion as well, it's you know, you'll probably play this for maybe an hour or two. Probably complete it and then never play it again for a very long time. But then perhaps after a few months, maybe a year or two or something, you just fancy a bit of mindless action just to take your mind off the shit in the real world. And this fills that niche and gap pretty nicely, I guess. But we're in the kind of the sanctum of where the final boss is now, so not far to go at all. A few more bad guys to beat up, a few more bits of just mindless walking. Yes, another edit cut. And like that other level in the industrial area, after walking and getting to the end of this level, you left with very, very little time, and there's quite a few guys to smack down here. It's weird though that sometimes they all appear at the start of the level, and then nothing in the middle, then sometimes loads of them appear at the end of the level. They're not spaced out properly. And I find it really weird, actually. I didn't really sort of mention this, sort of the placement of these bad guys in the level. Why that wasn't properly checked and play tested, and had these guys spread out evenly. Hell, he managed it on like the Double Dragon conversions, Mr. Aplin. So I don't know what his issue was here. I suspect again that he had to port this and get this done really quickly, and I think if he had maybe another week or two's development time, he could have really improved this a lot more. There you go. Only got 40 seconds left. I think this is probably the last guy of this level, and I believe it's the final level next. Oh god, we've got another guy to get rid of. So I'm panicking now because I want to do this without well, do this on the 1 credit. So we now pretty much got to grab him each time, but I'm getting pretty good at pulling that off now. Ten seconds left. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Hey, just done it. Groovy. And I think this is the final level. Coming up to the final boss battle against Belgium. Yeah, this should be the last of the normal enemies to get through. Hopefully. No! We've got this guy, Bread. He moves pretty quickly though, so you got to watch out for him. You can sneak in and get quite a few attacks on you, aren't there? Grr. I have to say though, some of those sprites don't really move about very well. Sort of judder across the screen a little bit actually. Whereas like Hagar there, he moves quite smoothly and nicely. And is this? Oh no, it's not the final level, but the penultimate level. Sorry. But it's just Bill we've got to fight against again. Yeah, I think I've worked out the easiest way to sort of grab those guys is to be like sort of moving down into the guy and then pressing the fire button to sort of reduce the firing down grab move. And that seems to work best. Okay, but this should be the final level, I'm pretty sure. Should remember, I only recorded this a couple of nights ago. Plenty of time on the clock to beat this level. Well, that was a lucky grab move there, because she was right behind me and I was facing the wrong direction. But we've got rid of these pretty quickly at least. I think we'll be making an edit cut here. Yep. And yes, we're coming up to the final boss battle against Belgium. Unfortunately, unlike the arcade version, I'm pretty sure Belgium starts off in a wheelchair. And again, what is it about end of level bosses in wheelchairs? Didn't we encounter that in what's the recent video I did where that happened, where the boss is in a wheelchair? Oh, he's in a wheelchair. What am I on about? Sorry. I think it was Narc, wasn't it, with the boss in a wheelchair? Can't remember now. Yeah, probably. Oh, there's that bug. Oh yeah, okay, so like if you smack him a few times he gets out of his wheelchair and starts moving about. And not moving about very well. There's literally one frame of animation. So he just glides about there like he's in the fucking Matrix. and it looks like he's firing grenades out at me. I'm sure he had like a harpoon weapon or like a crossbow or something in the arcade original. No, I was just trying to see there if I could sort of smack him through the window, because I think at the end of the arcade version he goes flying smash through the window. But unfortunately that doesn't happen. We just get a really crappy text screen saying we've completed the game, and that's it. High score table, which I don't think we actually ever see on the title screen, so this is the only time we'll see it, when you're entering your initials and name. But there you go. Well done if you've managed to watch this far, guys. Remember, there's a link to watch the full game without the edits and without me commentating and the arcade stuff at the beginning of the video if you want to watch that. But thanks for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed, and see you soon. Cheers. Bye.